Deathfist Ninja GKaiser is a live-action adaptation of a comic book I self-published back in 2005. This story is about a guy named Howard who is summoned to an alternate dimension where the things you see in comic books are real, because a wizard chose Howard to become its next champion. But the problem is the wizard screwed up the spell and summoned a zero instead of a hero, so Howard fails repeatedly because he's not the hero type. He's bad at fighting, doesn't have a lot of faith in himself, and has always been something of a loser. But he tries anyway, because if he doesn't stop an evil organization from trying to destroy the world, nobody else will. The story is also filled with lots of pop culture references and comedy, but the hero is the straight man, and it's just everyone else in the world that is crazy. So I consider the show to be a superhero comedy, but it's done to pay homage to Japanese special effects shows like Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, more popularly known as Power Rangers here in the States. In 2010, I received a YouTube partner account for one of the web shows I created while I was a film student, The RPG Fanatic, which is just a silly video game review show I was doing out of my apartment, shooting, writing, and editing it all by myself. There was nothing special and I knew that, but when I got the partner account I could see the potential. I finally had a way to pay people for working on my films, because the ad revenue generated by the videos could pay people's salaries. I thought now was as good of a time as any to make my comic book into a live-action show, but I need some cash to kickstart the production because I knew we'd need costumes, props, original music composed for the show, 3D computer art, and I didn't have money for any of this stuff. We did our first pledge through Kickstarter. We raised about $1,000. It actually ended up being about $950, I think, after Kickstarter took their cut and Amazon took their cut, but we had that much money. And we spent it on costumes and props such as GKaiser's, not really motorcycles, actually over a scooter. I think scooters are a little bit funnier than motorcycles, you know. It ended up being that some of the costume stuff costs more than originally predicted. And I've had to dump a lot of my own personal funds into it as well, which I already intended to do, like with food, providing food for the crew and stuff like that. But all that money's used up fairly quickly. But the short of it is that we were starting to shoot, and the costumes just weren't where it needed to be as professional as we wanted to be. And I said, you know, my instinct says just keep shooting, but I know in my head that it's not going to be as good as it could be if we just do that, if we just rush the production. So I wanted to stop production until we have everything perfect, or near perfect at least, because nothing's ever really perfect on a shoot. But near perfect, I think we can achieve that. All of our cast and crew, they're very professional. It's been a pleasure to work with everybody. I think we hired the right actors for every job as well. I've got John with his extremely expressive eyes, you know, because he's in a mask, so it's hard for him to really show off a lot of facial expressions. So the eyes are extremely important, and we pretty much cast him for his eyes.
Yeah, we did.
But don't tell him that.
So, Dark Shinobi is the main villain of the story. Super villain kind of stuff. Owns a big corporation, wears silly costumes. There's no reason for him to be wearing a silly costume. But he does, and that's the important part. That's what makes him a super villain. He's a egomaniacal sociopath, just kind of runs around, makes a bunch of grand gestures, grand claims, tries to take over the world, and then, you know, fails, because that's what happens to supervillains, especially in these kinds of shows. I think I get to live, though.
I play the character, the Dragon Sage Sioki. Sioki, isn't that like a Japanese feminine hygiene product? I don't know. Anyway, it's been fun working on this thing, but I guess I'm a Gandalf-ish Back to the Future professor type character, misdirected intentions or something. He's you know, sort of an absent-minded professor type, which in my advanced dementia, you know, works well. You know, I can really, you know, be realistic, and that's the part that I guess I'm concerned about, whether I should just go with being myself, which is a lot like a typecast that's I'm a lot like the character in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think. What was the question again?
Yeah, Ron is pretty much, when he walked in, we were having a really hard time finding the right person, because he showed up for the second audition, and before that we had 3 other people try out for it, and they weren't really bringing to the character what exactly we wanted.
The eccentricness.
Right, the eccentricness, and he had that down pat. He was exactly what we wanted, right through the door. And he even grew out a beard as well, and that's dedication. And Luna, of course, has been a very professional costume designer. I'm extremely satisfied with the work that she's done. And
yeah, she has some very good designs, and she gets the job done efficiently as well.
She's a lot of fun when we go into the Goodwill as well.
Working on the costumes for GKaiser has been interesting. We've had a lot of challenges, but we've had a lot of triumphs too. You know, I'm still new to the costume world, but I'm definitely learning from the project and the series. I'm getting to do things I wouldn't be able to normally do in my free time, so to be able to work on these costumes is a big achievement, and I've really enjoyed putting a lot of time and effort into these costumes to make this series really great and, you know, a really good experience for everyone else.
Most of the crew actually comes from Northwest Vista, which we're going to film school at. But there's other individuals like Luna the costume designer who actually we know by association with other individuals through San Japan mostly. There's a lot of support coming from the community involved with San Japan that's providing assistance. For example, Dave Henkin is actually one of the co-sponsors. He pledged us some money to get the production going with costumes and the purchasing of various props such as the bike. So really want to have a shout out to San Japan and thank everybody for helping us out to get this ball rolling. We got some pretty good locations signed up, like the dojo here in San Antonio. I'm surprised we found something like that.
Yeah.
It looks like an authentic Japanese dojo, like you would find in like the Meiji period or something like that. And the guy who owns the building is actually a lawyer, and he's a kendo instructor himself. And so we built his office. He wanted all Japanese authentic architecture. So his own office area is all like a Japanese house. And upstairs is where the actual dojo is. And it's just beautiful. It's a great location.
Everyone gets along pretty well too. Like, we chose very good crew, very good cast. Everyone jokes around during breaks, but we get stuff done. It's not like it's just joke and joke and joke, and we don't do anything. Like, we joke, we work, we joke, we work. We joke and work sometimes.
So, Dark Shinobi is a lot of fun to play just because he's the supervillain. I get to run around doing hand gestures like this, pointing and taking over the world! But, you know, then failing. But still, that's why it's fun to play. So I get to make those kinds of gestures, and become intense and passionate about taking over the world, and then fail. But it's fun. You should try it. I'm telling you to take over the world.
And yeah, it's been interesting. When I first took the, I guess I auditioned for the web series. I wasn't familiar with the concept. And I thought, well, this would be, you know, fun to do, and I met a lot of interesting, you know, nerdy people that are into stuff like that, and I'm sure they're amused by my tales from the crypt, as I'm sure they are twittering about as I speak. Since I don't Twitter, I don't know what they're saying behind my back, but No, it's been fun. I feel like I'm working with my own children since I'm old enough to be everyone's parent. I don't know how long I'm going to be involved in this character. Hopefully I won't die before the end of the shooting, but we can only hope. Yeah, I've been regurgitating the lines for this character for a long time, and I think there's been some sort of metamorphosis in my thought process. I actually don't have a clue of what my character is, but I'm still working on that. Hopefully I'll have that down by the time we start shooting again. But I recommend it highly as a hobby of any of you people out there that are just dabbling in the arts. If you want to basically, sign on for, what, like the rest of your life and every weekend, this is the way to go.
The crew and I are looking to raise another $1,000 to finish the pilot episode for the show, and this money will be spent on improving the costumes, props, and renting some film equipment we otherwise won't have access to, such as fancy light kits and wireless lavalier microphones. In return, just as we did before, we are offering pledge rewards like t-shirts, signed comic books, and pictures of the cast and crew. The full details can be found on our blog. We hope you've enjoyed this behind-the-scenes featurette of the production of Deathfist Ninja GKaiser, and will continue to support us as we continue production. Thank you.